I've been talking about like picking your battles and not overreacting to every little thing that Trump does. This is easily the most alarming thing that he's done yet.
Regardless of the hypothetical reality where Kamala Harris would not be as bad as Donald Trump, which we have no proof for.
I am speechless. I am speechless right now. Donald Trump just announced his intention to, in his own words, take over Gaza. Like take over Gaza.
Send to Gaza.
Like own Gaza. Literally own Gaza. Apparently Bibi was taken off guard here. Apparently even Bibi didn't see this coming. You guys, I really can't stress enough what a consequential, pivotal moment we potentially find ourselves in. Easily the most consequential foreign policy decision since the immediate post 9/11 era under George W. Bush. Easily. And it could end up being very easily more consequential. Does everybody understand like the stakes here? Does everybody understand? To put things into context a little bit, this essentially blows up all of the normalization efforts that are being made between Israel and the neighboring Arab states. They're not going to go for this. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the risk of like a hot war with Iran goes way up. Way the fuck up. Bin Laden gave a few reasons that chiefly that he planned the attack on 9/11. One of them was US having military bases in Saudi Arabia near Mecca. One of them was the United States continuous bombing campaign of Iraq that happened for years and years even after the first Gulf War. And the other one was United States support for Israel and the deprivation of sovereignty for Palestinians. I've been talking about like picking your battles and not overreacting to every little thing that Trump does. This is easily, and it's a long list, this is easily the most alarming thing that he's done yet. Alarming doesn't even put it into, I mean, it's catastrophic. I don't know what I don't know what the he's thinking. There is no way that the Arab world is gonna go for this. Like this is I can't even begin to put into word how much this would light the Middle East on fire. The destabilizing impact of a decision like this to physically, militarily occupy and annex Gaza is genuinely so much worse than I thought would be possible under Trump. I did not consider this. I didn't think he would claim it for like as US territory. That's so far beyond what I thought he would do. I thought he would tell Bibi, go ahead and kick him out and annex. I thought that would be, this is so much worse than that. So much worse than that. This is so much worse than that. Do you have any idea how many people are going to be recruited to terrorist cells because of this? Do you guys have any idea? The risk of like a 9/11 scale terror attack has gone way the up. This is not hyperbole. Like, does anybody have a clip of HASAN blaming Kamala? Is he blaming Kamala?
Kamala Harris, or at least any liberal that wanted to win, could have been like, yeah, we're going to actually put an end to this. We're going to put a stop to what Joe Biden is doing. And they chose not to. Okay. So saying that like, oh, so much for the protest vote, especially when Kamala Harris lost by wider margins than the people that voted for someone else, is just idiotic. I don't know why liberals often.
We all understand that lefties have really backed themselves into a corner here. They've debate broed themselves into a position where they now have to take the position that this would have happened all the same. Well, there's a few things that they can do to kind of wiggle out of like accountability for their decision in November. And the first one is to suggest that, well, it's really not that much different than what Democrats were suggesting, which is what I saw in my own feed. Like when I tweeted about this, I had multiple people in my feed that were like, yeah, well, how was Kamala any different? And then the other thing that they have to do is to just be like, well, you know, like this is Kamala's fault. She should have given me a good enough reason to vote for her. And I just
repeat this false notion. It just doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris lost by wider margins than the protest voters that voted for Jill Stein. Even if you were to combine all of the protest voters, even if it is...
The fact of the matter is that a lot of people that turned out in 2020 did not turn out in 2024. There was more apathy in the electorate for Democratic voters. We lost millions of voters between 2024 and 2020. And I believe if you have a platform, you should be asking yourself, like, you know, did I contribute to that apathy? Did I contribute to that sense of parity between the two parties? Did I contribute to that sense of hopelessness? Did I tell my audience that there wasn't a good reason to support Kamala Harris? Did I tell my audience that the threat of Donald Trump really wasn't all that much different from Kamala?
This is it. Kamala Harris looked at the electoral map, okay? She looked at the electoral map, recognizing the dangers of a Trump administration, and was woefully incompetent in addressing any of the needs that the American public wanted.
Oh my God. I believe the absurdity of their position could not be any more clear on a day like this, but it was so unbelievably myopic and silly and stupid to not understand or draw a meaningful distinction between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Today of all days, on the heels of this announcement, which, to be clear, once again, to reiterate, is the most consequential, if he follows through, U.S. foreign policy decision since our invasion of Afghanistan, our invasion of Iraq. And it could be more consequential because of the historical, it's a powder keg. Gaza is a powder keg. And it has been for 75 plus years. Now imagine if there's American flags being waved in Gaza. This will lead to decades of violence unless we elect a Democrat in 2028 and, you know, they reverse this decision, right? Like, the absurdity of the leftist 2024 position, the ones that decided to not vote or spread this complete fiction. That number one, Democrats didn't do anything to help people. Number two, they're not that much different from Republicans. The absurdity of that could not be any more clear than on a day like this. And so to spend your time shitting on Kamala, she ran on a permanent ceasefire and a two-state solution. That's what she ran on. That would have been American. It would have been U.S. foreign policy right now in this moment, had she won that election, to pressure Netanyahu at every step to allow humanitarian aid into the region, to pressure them to come to terms that would end the fighting, and push for a two-state solution, push for Palestinian statehood. That's what Kamala ran on. That's what she ran on. Palestinian statehood. That's what she ran on. That would be our policy right now. Would she be successful? History says no, but that would have been our foreign policy goal. She certainly would not have, number one, allowed Netanyahu or supported Netanyahu permanently occupying Gaza, and she absolutely in a million years would not have decided to absorb Gaza as an American territory. If HASAN suggests that she would have done that, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to have an aneurysm.
So no, especially considering that she lost by wider margins than even the protest votes combined, this is an insane statement to advance. Regardless of the hypothetical reality where Kamala Harris would not be as bad as Donald Trump, which we have no proof for.
I am speechless. I am speechless right now. I have no idea what to say to that.
Hypothetical reality where Kamala Harris would not be as bad as Donald Trump, which we have no proof for. And even then, I don't know. Somebody do a wellness check on me later is all I'm going to say. I mean, seriously, send the authorities to my home in a video game and check up on me, because I don't know what to say. Like, this is the largest political streamer on Twitch, and that's the most absurd thing he's ever said. Ever.
to say that in this moment right now is technically you're right. Asman, I guess, is a political streamer. He's the by far the biggest left-wing political streamer on Twitch. And what he just said is the most insane thing, absurd. What do I even need to explain? What an insane thing that is to say on a day where Donald Trump announces that we're going to invade Gaza. I got Drazok to agree with me. That's how bad this is. Drazok is agreeing with me on a day where Donald Trump announces his intention to militarily permanently occupy Gaza and annex it as an American territory. HASAN says there's no evidence that Kamala would be better. We're so man. What an unbelievable thing to say. I mean, there's so much shit that I want to say right now, and I'm trying to keep my shit frosty. That is the most ridiculous thing he's ever said. You know what? I will say it. He is just as bad as, in terms of his influence, he's just as bad as Benny Johnson, Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Rogan. Like, he's just as bad. Just as bad. What an unbelievable thing to say. And his impressionable young audience view him as an authority, and they hear that and they're like, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's proof that Kamala would have been better. What an unbelievable thing to say. Unreal, outrageous. On today, after what we just heard from Donald Trump, what an unbelievable thing to say. I'm gobsmacked. He debate broed himself into the most absurd. He spent all of the time like hedging and I can't endorse Kamala, you know. If you're in a swing state, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. Like, doing that for months. And then he has to say this now because he did that shit for months. If he were to acknowledge right now that this is a nightmare beyond anything that we even conceived of during the election, I didn't see anybody talking about Donald Trump invading Gaza. You know, we were talking about crazy shit during this election cycle, crazy hypotheticals. If he wins, is he going to do this? Is he going to do this? This never once came up. It's so much worse. It's so much worse than we even thought he would go. But because he hedged for the entire election cycle, he forced himself into a position where, like, because if he were to acknowledge, like, okay, this is actually so much worse than I thought it would be, he would have to say, like, man, honestly, maybe I should have used my platform to, like, warn people that something like this could happen. He would have to do that. He would have to be capable of that reflection. I'm just floored right now, but I just keep repeating myself. I mean, like, what an outrageous thing to say. I'm gobsmacked, positively gobsmacked right now.
Maintain that position throughout the entire process. I told you that Donald Trump was going to do exactly this shit over and over and over and over again. Okay? Liberals just go with whatever narrative makes them feel morally superior. I mean, yeah. It's just...
No! I'm done. Okay, I can't. There's no more. I just can't. Nope. I'm done. I'd rather just watch. I haven't seen what's in the... Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me right now? Is this a joke? What? I didn't even see what he said during... Let's just watch. I just can't. I don't know. I reached my limit. That's it.
A keeper of something that
I'm
strong, very powerful, and very, very good for the area, not just for Israel, for the entire Middle East. Very important. And we'll, again, have thousands of jobs, and there'll be jobs for everyone, not for a specific group of people, but for everybody. Okay? Please.
I think peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia is not only feasible, I think it's going to happen.
No. Not anymore. Not anymore. Absolutely not. No. They were this close to normalizing with Israel. They were like right at the 9-yard line. They were this close, bro. They were within 10 yards of a TD to spike that football and normalize relations with Saudi Arabia. And then October 7th happened. And the subsequent military campaign from Israel. And Saudi Arabia, the rulers of Saudi Arabia, they still wanted to do the deal, but their own citizens wouldn't allow. There would have been there would have been a revolt in Saudi Arabia if Saudi Arabia went through with the normalization process after the bombing campaign in Gaza, because the Saudi Arabian citizens were furious, and so they didn't have the political capital to do that. And now if America comes in and just like takes Gaza completely off the table.
I think if we had another half a year in your first term, it would have already happened.
True. Many more, I agree, many more nations.
I think you can't prejudge and pre-guess how we'll achieve it, but I'm committed to achieving it. And I know the president is committed to achieving it, and I think the Saudi leadership is interested to achieve it. So we'll give it a good shot, and I think we'll succeed.
First of all, President Trump, did you hear from Prime Minister Netanyahu at your meeting guarantees that the ceasefire will hold including phase 2, and Prime Minister Netanyahu refused. Why are you refusing to set up a national commission to investigate failures of the Trump administration?
Well, I can't tell you whether or not the ceasefire will hold. We've done, I think, a very masterful job. We weren't helped very much by the Biden administration, I can tell you that. But we've gotten quite a few hostages out. We're going to get more out. But we're dealing with very complex people. And we are going to see whether or not it holds. We certainly want to have more come out. They've come out damaged, in many ways damaged, very damaged people. But they're going to get better, and they're going to be strong, and they're going to have a good life. And we hope to get as many as possible out. Whether or not it holds, I don't know. We hope it holds. We hope it holds.
I think that at the appropriate time, which I think will enable us to really investigate what happens, what were the causes of the failures, by an independent commission that will be accepted by the majority of the people. We don't want it accepted by one half of the people and not the other. I think we should have it, and we should find out exactly what happened. I'm insisting on it. And believe me, it'll surprise a lot of people when it happens.
Kelly, go ahead.
You are outlining something that is really quite striking tonight. You are talking about, thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister. You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory. What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there, redevelopment? And Mr. Prime Minister, do you see this idea as a way to expand the boundaries of Israel and to have a longer peace, even though the Israeli people know how important that land is to you and your citizens, just as the space is inherited by the Palestinians as well?
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East.
Oh my God. Bros. Oh my God, you guys. The extent to which this would destabilize that entire region and potentially embolden and empower the worst forces in that region cannot be. Do you have any idea how much like Hezbollah, their recruitments are going to go up because of this? Do you guys understand? The idea of America taking over Gaza is so wildly offensive. It almost makes the word offensive seem absurd. Like, I don't know what word to use to express just how much this is going to infuriate people in that region. What an unbelievable like symbol of American imperialism. This is just imperialism. That's a word that gets thrown around too much, to be clear. This is imperialism. This is actual just like imperialism. Like, hey, you know what? That's not yours. That's ours.